Hi everybody, this is Jailan of Early Years Parenting, and I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit today about being responsive in parenting versus reactive. So, a lot of families I talk to, especially moms, either stay at home moms or working moms, feel like they're in survival mode. Like you're just reacting, you're just trying to get through the day, you're just reacting to what your child is doing. And oftentimes we feel so burnt out, and especially this week, I've talked to three moms and they just felt so burnt out. Like they're just in survival mode. They don't know what to do when approaching a situation. Like, what should I do now? You see, she just did this. What should I do now? That's the question I get all the time. And so I just want to start by talking about three basic steps that I always start with parents, and sometimes those are the groundbreaking steps that you can start with when doing positive parenting with your kid and just giving yourself a break and feeling less overwhelmed. Forget about that it's under positive parenting. It's just a way to respond to your child where you feel in control, where you don't feel overwhelmed, where you feel like you're out of survival mode. So, the first thing I want to say and ask you, do you parent in a way that's reactive or proactive? So, reactive parenting is where you're in a situation and you feel like you're out of control, you feel you're helpless, you feel frustrated, you tend to find yourself giving into bribing or giving into your child's needs after whining just to get the situation to end. You start talking about consequences and punishment, or you basically bribe your kid with something that they want to just, get the situation to pass and, move on. Proactive and responsive parenting is more about going in the situation, knowing what to expect, looking at the situation critically, no matter what the issue is, no matter if you're in a rush, you're in a supermarket, your child is having a tantrum out in public, but just having those tools and skills and steps to look at the situation with a more positive outlook, in terms of being in control, knowing what to do with your child, and then having your parenting toolbox ready and knowing which tool to pull out when it's appropriate, when your child needs it, and when you're able to give it. So I just want to walk you through these three steps that I start with every family. Make sure that they know them, to being more responsive and proactive rather than reactive in our parenting. So whenever you're facing a challenging situation with your child, ask yourself three questions. I usually add a fourth with the younger kids. The first is my child safe and are other kids safe in the situation? So is my child hitting? Then I have to remove from the situation first. If my child is just throwing a tantrum on the floor in the supermarket and it's just hard to deal with and people are looking at me, I don't really need to move her from the floor. I can just leave her there. So that's question number one. Question number two is, why did my child act this way? Why is my child having a tantrum? Why is my child sitting there taking an hour to take a bite for dinner? Why didn't my child do his homework? Why is homework an issue every evening? Why is my child hitting? So think about, why did my child behave that way? And approach the situation with more curiosity instead of assumptions. So don't try avoid falling into saying, well, he's just being lazy, or he's irresponsible, or she's so spoiled, or she's so naggy and whiny. Avoid those labels and assumptions and approach with genuine curiosity. Look deeper to see what's going on with your child, what's behind the behavior, and also see if that behavior is developmentally appropriate. So if your 2-year-old doesn't want to share and it's causing her to have a tantrum because someone's come over and is taking over her toys, and you're expecting her to share, that's an unrealistic expectation. So make sure that the behavior is developmentally appropriate. So why does my child behave that way? Some of the answers could be like, is it developmentally appropriate? Is she tired? Is she hungry? Did she maybe not have a good night's sleep? Did she wake up too early? Did someone bother her at the kindergarten? Did she have a bad day at daycare? Did she get in an earlier conflict, at daycare? Or maybe she didn't get to do the activity that she wanted and was picked up too early. So many things that happen in the day when we're not around our kids can affect how they behave with us. So just the other day with my 4.5 year old, he was in such a mood after I picked him up from kindergarten, and he just had that mood the whole time we were on our way back. And I took a moment and I stopped and I said, listen, what's going on? What's happening? Because I know, like, I was frustrated, but deep down I know he's not out to get me. Something's off today. What's off? It's annoying me, but what's off? So we stopped, midway at the metro station, stop, and I said, listen, what's happening? And he said, well, this other kid today took away the toy I was playing with. And this other kid today did this and this and that. And he started talking to me about his day. And there's conflict every day in kindergarten. I mean, over toys and stuff. But obviously today was a bit emotional for him. And then I thought, well, he did wake up earlier as well. So that combination, and I did pick him up a little bit late. So that combination could cause his behavioral issues that I'm having now with having to take him back home, and walk all the way and take transportation. So that's the first thing. Why is my child acting in that way? That's the first step you need to identify, because then after this step, we can decide what we can do and what's more appropriate. So that was step number 1. Step number 2 is, what lesson do I want to teach my child in this moment, or what lesson does my child need to learn in this moment? So remember that the goal of disciplining isn't always consequences. It isn't always, if you don't do this, then this is going to happen, or this isn't going to happen, or if you do this, then these are the consequences. So based on the situation, think about what life skills you could teach your child. And I know this isn't applicable in every situation, and it doesn't have to be an insanely big life skill. It doesn't have to be like a, life-changing, life-learning moment. It can be even a simple skill. It can be a skill in waiting. It can, if we count and wait, it can be a simple skill in learning to deal with the frustrating emotions that you're having because she's having a tantrum right now and I'm not going to give in because I can't. So learning to deal with that frustrating emotion is also a skill. Is it with the child that doesn't, has issues with doing their homework? Is it a time management skill that needs to be learned? Is it a responsibility skill when my child, pours or spills a cup of water? Is it a responsibility skill to teach them to clean up? Is it a skill that, they just have to experience the result of their choices? Like, okay, you didn't put on your gloves and your hands are going to be cold. So you had to go through that experience to really feel it. So ask yourself, what does my child need to learn at this moment? Or what can I teach my child at this moment? What is the learning possibility? And it could be anything from, learning to be patient, which is a really small, or learning to deal with emotions, which is a really small, simple lesson, to talking about time management and responsibilities, the bigger goals or bigger life skills. So that's the second step. And that second step is very important into helping us identify the third step, which is, how am I going to teach my child these life skills in this moment? What positive parenting tool am I going to use to send the message, to teach the life skill, to make this a learning moment? So first of all, consider your child's age and developmental abilities, because it's very different how you respond to a situation with a 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 6-year-old, or 8-year-old. So think of your child's age and abilities and the context of the situation before you decide on what you're going to do. Then take both you and your child's needs, not just your child's needs, not just your own needs, into consideration, as well as your emotional state. So if you're in a situation where your child is throwing a tantrum on the floor in the supermarket and you just need some time out, give yourself that time out first. If you need that to be able to respond calmly, give it to yourself. That's a valid need. And then if your child needs to be held and comforted first before talking about consequences or talking about house rules or talking about the logic, then do that. That's your tool for that moment. That's a tool that's going to teach your child to deal with the frustrating emotions and to also learn that you don't always get something that you want when you ask for it, even if you throw a tantrum on the supermarket floor. The third thing also when thinking about how you're going to teach your child this lesson is that you can, with older kids, use problem solving skills. So ask your child, what can you do differently? Or instead of always lecturing your child, say, you were wrong to hit your sister. And I do this all the time with my 4.5-year-old, and I just look at him and I say, what happened? And he's like, I pushed her. Do you think that was okay? No. Okay. Why did you push her? I was angry. And do we push people when we're angry? No. Okay. I understand that you're angry. You can be angry. What do you think you can do next time when you're angry with her? Why were you angry with her? Well, because she tried to take my toy and I want to play alone. So what can you do next time when that happens? And then very surprisingly, he'll tell me, and people think this is surprising when it's a young child, but he'll say things like, well, I can go and play in your room, Mama, with my toys on my own. Then she won't be able to come in with me. Or he'll say, I'll get her another car that she can play with, and so she'll leave my cars alone. Or I'll bring her another doll or dinosaur or whatever. And he'll talk to her and say, hey, baby, I'm going to bring you a toy that you can play with on your own, and I'm going to play with these on my own now. And that has come through practice. It's come through me guiding him in those situations where I found it in myself to be calm, and teach him, because it's very easy to say, hey, don't do that to your babysitter. If you want to play alone, just go in my room and play alone, or give your sister one of those toys. It's very easy to just give him the solution. But then the next situation comes by and he still reacts the same way. He still hits, he still gets frustrated. He doesn't know what to do because we haven't had that discussion of having him think of a solution that works for him and having him choose a solution that works for him. And now I would say 40% of the time, he initiates that problem solving on his own when he sees it coming. He expresses beforehand and says, I want to play alone when I go home. So I'm going to go to your room, Mama, and play and take my toys and play on my own so the baby can't come with me. And then I'm going to play with her. And that's acceptable. And that's the end goal that we want to reach, with our parenting and our discipline. So think about what you can do to teach your lesson. Is it counting to teach patience? Is it giving choices? Is it helping a little bit with your child and then letting them do the rest when it's teaching responsibility? Is it helping with time management and having a visual representation of time management, like a routine chart or a timer or a clock or something to teach time management? Which positive parenting tool are you going to dig out of your parenting toolbox and use in the situation? So those are the 3 steps I want you to think about when you have a challenging situation with your child. Why is my child behaving that way? What lesson can I teach my child or my child needs to learn in this moment? And how can I best teach this lesson with the positive parenting tools that I have? That's it for this one. Let me know what you think. Bye.